In this video, we're going to continue our discussion on activity-based costing. We'll start off with a little history first. It used to be that in many manufacturing areas, direct labor hours, units produced, and overhead cost were highly correlated. And companies used to produce a very limited variety of products with very little difference in the overhead costs attributable to different products. But nowadays, things are a little bit different. Direct labor has declined recently as a percentage of total cost because of the increased use of technology. And additionally, companies are creating new products that differ in volume, batch size, and complexity, and therefore we have to do something a little bit different. These new costs don't really have an obvious connection to direct labor hours or machine hours. And so when we're going to be allocating overhead, we're going to need different overhead cost pools and what we're going to call allocation bases to get an accurate unit product cost information so that we can make some good decisions. First, we're going to start with some basic definitions. What is an activity? An activity is an event that causes consumption of overhead resources. Some examples would be moving materials from the storeroom to the assembly line. Assembling the product is an activity. Designing the product is an activity. Sending a bill to a customer, that's an activity. We're going to put these costs related to these activities into these activity cost pools. These are like a bucket that are going to hold the cost related to a single activity measure. So all the costs related to moving materials will be in this cost pool. The activity measure is going to be the allocation base that we're going to use for a specific activity. So there's two different types of activity measures. There's a transaction driver and a duration driver. Now, a transaction driver is going to be used on how many times something occurs. So for example, if we're sending bills to a customer, well, it's pretty easy to calculate how many times that occurs. How many bills did you send? A duration driver, on the other hand, is going to keep track of the amount of time needed to perform an activity. So are you really going to time how long it takes to send each bill? Well, since this is relatively more difficult to calculate, most companies are going to focus on transaction drivers. Now, if you want more detailed information, you might hire somebody to come in and with a stopwatch and time how long everything takes. But for our purposes, we're going to be focusing on transaction drivers.